Hello again, Steambots, and a warm welcome to another episode of SteamWorld Telegraph, the show where we talk about all things SteamWorld. I'm your host, Brian Sigurgesson, and I've been working with this beloved series since the very start. As per usual, on the show today we'll be chatting with developers, letting you know about the latest news from SteamWorld games, and checking in on our dear community. And today's guests are Adam Vassé and Andreas Persson, who've come all the way from our studio in Karlshamn in southern Sweden, The Station. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So you're here today to talk about what it's like to make a city builder. But before we get into that, could you give me a little bit about your roles?
Yeah, sure. I'm the game director, and that means I oversee the design of the game. All the small details, how the game works. I have a team under me with designers, and I also have a close collaboration with the tech director and the art director.
Right. And welcome, Adam. What do you do at The Station?
I'm the producer for SteamWorld Build. A lot of estimation, a lot of planning and scheduling and managing, make sure that we do a good game.
What made you decide to take on the city builder genre?
So in our studio, we always like the management games, and we want to do something unique like SteamWorld Heist and SteamWorld Dig. And then Andreas actually came up with this great idea that, hey, let's do a city builder with a lot of digging.
What would you say separates it from others, Andreas?
The game takes place in different, what we call layers. We have the city layer, and then you have different mine floors. And you can always switch layer, go down into the mine, spend as much time there as you want, and then you can go back and finish your production in the city. We had playtesters that described the game as exciting. Which is a word you don't usually describe city builders with.
Right.
We have exploration and discovery. It offers something new for all fans of city builders.
We've seen a lot of people sort of comparing SteamWorld Build to Dungeon Keeper, the old classic game. What would you guys say? Is that a fair comparison? What would you say?
I think it's a fair assessment. We quite early knew that we didn't want to go the simulation road that SimCity and City Skylines have done. Because since the game takes place in different layers, we don't want random disasters or random things happening in the city while you're down in the mine. So we knew we wanted to focus on the resource management part. And for the Dungeon Keeper part, at first glance, it sure looks like Dungeon Keeper. But when you start playing it, you realize that it's not as focused on combat, which Dungeon Keeper is. There is a threat in the mine, but the focus is how can I optimize my mining operation and make sure I provide what the city needs instead.
What have you learned from other games? And do you have any favorites?
Looking at the different other city builders, you also realize that they speak to different audiences. Some who play wants the relaxing experience, just to decorate their environment, have fun. But then we have the other player who wants to make it as optimized as possible. And to make a good city builder, you need to cater to both sides. And all of the big city builders do that. And that's something we also wanted to make sure that we could do. And for favorites, my personal, I'm old, so I like the old SimCity games and Caesar games a lot.
Right. Well, SimCity for me too, I think. Yeah. How about you, Adam?
Oh, that's hard. I think you have to mention City Skylines. I would say I'm really in love with the first roller coaster tycoon. I know that that's not a city builder per se, but it's still like you managing your park, and I could play that for hours when I was little. So, that for me is a true classic.
Now, you've been working on this game now for, how long is it now? I mean, when did you start?
It's been...
Yeah, I always answer wrong on this question, but...
Around 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah. What's been hard along the way? What have the challenges been like?
I think the biggest challenge was to get this IP that we got from the Image and Form, and we were the first studio that was about to take this SteamWorld franchise and do something new with it. And we were like, okay, but how do we make this justice? So that was a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure.
You're you're solely talking about internal pressure here, right?
Yeah, internal pressure, of course. But yeah, so that was, of course, a big challenge. I will also say that because we decided early that we wanted the game to work really smooth on both consoles and PC.
How do you make any game almost that works equally well on PC and consoles? Because it's very, very, very hard, right?
Yeah, so we had this dedicated programmer, Johan, and he has been doing an amazing job. And I know that Andreas, he said, okay, but I want to do this with the game. And then Johan had to say, no, but that won't work well with a gamepad, but it would work with just keyboard and mouse. So then we can't do it. And so there has been a lot of trial and error, I would say, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It is a challenge, but it's been a fun challenge. SteamWorld has historically been very accessible. It's very easy to get into the games, even if they are quite complex. The city build genre is a genre that some people find intimidating. There's menus and there's text you need to learn, and how to teach new players how to play a city builder, because we knew that we would get city builder fans, but we also would get SteamWorld fans that don't necessarily have played city builders before. So how can we teach them in the best way possible? And I think we went through 3 iterations at least for the tutorial during the development.
I think I've always read the comment when we have announced a new game, it's like, yeah, that's not really my genre, right? But then there is, the sentence continues, but if it's a SteamWorld game, I'm willing to give it a try, because whenever I've done that, it turns out that I really like that genre. So it has to do with the accessibility, I feel. And I think SteamWorld Build does that just tremendously well. There's a trading system in the game as well. What made you choose to add that system into it?
First is kind of to avoid soft-locking the player. Soft-locking the player is they've used too much of one resource, so they can't progress in the game. That's one part. Then we have the player that likes to optimize. They can see, oh, I'm producing too much of this resource. I could trade it for this and make my whole city more efficient. And I think allowing that, it offers a new way of playing the game. You don't have to utilize the trade system if you don't want to, but you can, and you can use it to your advantage.
There's some other systems as well, like in the game that you don't typically see in a city builder, such as, tower defense systems and so on. What made you want to add that into the mix? Yeah,
we knew we wanted some form of threat down in the mine, since you can't really micromanage your agents. And when you encounter an enemy, you might be on a different floor and not be ready to respond. So we knew we wanted some form of more stationary defense and being able to prepare for what's coming rather than react at all times. Your guards will also help you there, who are more of the response force. They will run out when enemies appear in your base. But in some places you will need to have your tower defense set up, basically.
And now it's time to talk about development updates, sort of the stuff that has happened lately to SteamWorld Build. And who better to answer questions on that than our dear guests today. A lot of people have played the demo, and the demo is, I think it's available on Steam and Good Old Games, right?
Yeah, and also the Epic Store, I believe.
So go and play the demo, it's delightful. But that is sort of the latest that people have seen of the game. Could you tell us what has happened recently, in terms of development?
There's a lot of things that's been going on behind the scenes, but I think one of the cooler things that I really like is something we call the landmark buildings. The landmark buildings is something you unlock when you finish a map. If you manage to launch the rocket on a map, you will get access to a unique building that is then available from the start the next time you play. And they all come with a powerful bonus that really change the way you can play the game. And they all look really cool.
And now let's do our community segment where we show off some really cool stuff that people have made and sent to us. And let's do this together, guys. So the first one we have is a black and white drawing that is really well shaded, and it's made by Captain Ratty. What do you guys think?
Very many small details.
Yeah, really. It's humbling, isn't it, when people take the time to do these things? I think it's just awesome. Then up after that, I mean, we have Volt, who has used Scratch, which, as far as I know at least, is a programming tool. That's pretty impressive if you ask me.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you guys come across anything like in the community that you'd like to share?
One of my favorite videos that was of a YouTuber playing the game, or the demo. It was a real civil engineer who then goes into analyzing each building and see, does it actually work, and how good are the bridges in the game, and it's really good.
Oh, that's marvelous. We want you to participate in our community section. So just join our Discord and post your stuff there. There will be links in the description for how you do that. That sort of gets us to that stage in the show, right? I mean, do you have anything in particular that you want to tell the fans and the viewers?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who played it, and if you haven't played it, you should try the demo, and I can't wait to get the full game into your hands.
I just wanted to say a big thank you to the team in Karlshamn. You totally rock, and yeah, thank you to everyone that downloaded and wishlisted the game. You rock as well.
And that's a wrap, folks. Again, I want to thank our guests today, Adam and Andreas, and thank you for tuning into SteamWorld Telegraph. See you in the next episode, Steambots. Until then, take care.